Pattaya, the party capital of Thailand, the land of smiles, or is it? Last week I started a two-parter video. This is the second part of 10 reasons why you should come and move to Thailand. A lot of people make New Year's resolutions, they're going to do something different this year. If it's to come and retire here or to move and work here, give us 10 reasons why to move here. And if you haven't seen that video, bing, it's up there. Click on it first and then come back. But if you have seen it, this is the second part where I'm going to tell you 10 reasons why maybe you wouldn't want to come here, 10 negative things about living here in Pattaya and in Thailand. Now, please, let me say this first of all. If you are a Thai person, or if you are somebody that's just looking at this for the first time, you've never seen me, let me make it clear. I am kind of sitting on the fence in this video. I am playing what we call devil's advocate. I actually like Thailand. I've lived here for a long time. I've got family over here. So I'm only putting forward a lot of arguments that I hear in my two bars that I own. I've got Le Pub on Soy Diamond and my new bar Milk. Don't forget about that. So 10 reasons why you might not want to come to the land of smiles and wonderful Pattaya. We talked about income tax, personal taxation, and I said it was a low taxation society. Well, somebody did point out that if you're into luxury goods, you pay a massive tax, and that person is true. So for example, if you're a wine drinker or you like fine spirits, they come in from maybe Europe or other parts of the world, there's a huge import tax on luxury drink, luxury perfumes, luxury clothes, and of course, oh, where are we? Luxury cars. We're outside this car dealership at the moment. This one is Thai based, so it wouldn't be so expensive to buy one of these cars. But if you're going to import something like a BMW or a Mercedes, you're going to have a huge luxury goods tax on that. It's not a direct taxation, and I can understand the government. They're saying, well, the average Thai's not going to drive a BM or drink a bottle of wine, so why shouldn't we tax the rich people for using those luxury goods? So I do get it. Luxury goods are expensive here, so be very careful if you're thinking of driving a nice motor. Number 2 is about money as well, but specifically being able to open your own bank account. Now, I haven't been back to the UK for a long time, so I'm not quite sure of the procedure opening one in the UK, but all I know is when I was there last time, it was pretty straightforward. As long as you got an address, you're good to go. Here in Thailand, it is very complicated. It involves getting documentation from immigration and also letters from where you actually live. And most of the banks will insist that you have some kind of insurance policy with them to open an account. And then sometimes there's a minimum amount that you have to keep in the bank account. Once you've got your account, fantastic. In the UK or in other countries in the West, you can get a credit card. Not so here in Thailand. And in fact, borrowing money here in Thailand is really difficult. To narrow it down, basically you can borrow money on property or land, but that's about it. I've had a successful business now for 6 years. I tried to borrow some money on that. No way, you can't. It's only available on land. And you can ask for a credit card in a bank and they'll give you a credit card, but it's not actually a credit card because you'll be able to have one with like 50,000 baht on it, but you must keep that amount of money in the account at all times. So it's not really a credit card, is it? So difficulties and changes with banking. But then look at saving money. If you've got money that you want to bring out of the UK, America, Australia and put into a savings account here in Thailand. In the UK at the moment, you open a savings account, the saving rate that you will get as interest is going to be between 3 and 4% if you're lucky, but a good savings rate. Here in Thailand, you open a savings account, the maximum you will get offered is about 0.9%. So 3 times better to save money in a UK bank than here in Thailand. Listening to your comments, reading your comments of my first video and my own personal opinion, the biggest negative about moving here to Thailand is healthcare. And here we are at a government hospital, Pattaya City Hospital here on Soi Buakhao. I said in my first video that if I wanted to see a doctor, I could do it very quickly, maybe in half an hour or so. But what about if you get seriously ill? Last year, you might remember I had a heart attack. Before then, I've had dengue fever. What about if you get cancer or another serious illness? Unless you have some kind of healthcare coverage, health insurance, or you have a big chunk of money in the bank, you are going to have serious problems in getting good quality healthcare. Nothing wrong with the staff that work here, but it is a government hospital, and it will be not like an experience you get in a hospital back home in the West, in the UK or in America. If you want a good hospital with good healthcare, quick, it's going to cost you money, or you've got to have good insurance. Just to give you an example, somebody who's maybe past 60 years old, he'll be paying about 3,000 baht a month for basically just for in-care healthcare. So that means when he has an accident, when he has some kind of serious illness, doesn't pay if he has to stay over in hospital overnight. That 3,000 baht could be 5,000 baht or 10,000 baht, depending on how much you wanted to spend and how much care and cover that you needed. It's a big chunk out of your budget. People in America are used to paying for private healthcare, but people in the UK, they've got the National Health Service. They need a hospital, something terrible happens, the hospital's there and it's free. It's very different here in Thailand, so be aware, healthcare is going to cost you. So how about the argument about food? I says that as long as you eat Thai food, it's reasonably cheap. You can also buy the ingredients for food, it's very cheap as well. Well, there are people that says that actually if you look around, sometimes Western food, if you're not prepared to integrate into the local community and eat Thai food, if you just stick to Western food and eat out, it can be very, very expensive. So I did a bit of a survey. I looked at the price of good old British fish and chips. This, by the way, is the location of the brand new chip shop that Sharples is going to be moving here in Soi New Plaza, and we wish the Sharples crew all the best. So a plate of fish and chips, the cheapest place in the UK is or Liverpool, about £5-6 for nice cod and chips. If you come from London, if you come from London, it can be as much as double that, £12 for a portion of fish and chips. So the price here can be sometimes between 200 and 300 baht, but sometimes between 400 and 500 baht. If you look at the price comparison, it's about the same. So if you just stick to Western food, it can be very expensive. The moral of the story is, get into Thai food, mingle with the community, let your taste buds go a little bit, get used to some different flavours, and enjoy Thai food, because if it's just Western food you're going to stick to, it can be a bit heavy on the pocket. Remember in the first video I told you about how the internet was very quick. Here, if you were thinking of moving here, working online, broadband was very cheap and very quick. The 5G network was fantastic. Well, some people have pointed out that once you get further away into rural Thailand, that can not be the case. And indeed, when I went up to Isan recently, 5G turned to 4G, turned to 3G, and I wasn't able to see a lot of video content, for example, when I was sitting in the farm. If you just stick to the big cities like Pattaya, Phuket or Bangkok, you will get really good coverage. But if you're going into a more rural area, you might have problems. And talking of the internet, there are restrictions here in Thailand about what you can talk about and what you can see. For example, somebody made a post on one of the hotel review sites that was very negative. He ended up being detained and put into jail. There are very strict laws about what you can say online in this country, and the police do react to that. And also, of course, some certain websites, like, well, websites that you might be watching late at night, aren't available here. They are restricted by the Thai government, so you might have to use a VPN, for example. So internet, it's big in the city, but once you get outside it's slower and you are restricted on what you can say and what you can watch. Number 6, and it's my favourite subject being a British person, the weather. Now, if you looked at the first video, you knew that I was a little bit reticent to say that the weather was a positive. Obviously, I'm looking at videos right now in December 2022 of record snowstorms across America, temperatures plummeting in the UK, and I'm sitting here moaning because it's too hot. I get that, but the weather can get on your nerves after a while, if you like. It's never really cold, and you don't realise how much you come to love the seasons, the changing seasons, spring into summer, into autumn. You miss all of that when you're over here because it's basically either hot or very hot. It does become extremely humid around April, May, June when there is Songkran, and it is really the hot season, and it is very uncomfortable to go outside during the day, just like I'm doing. And another thing is the rainy season, you do get problems with flooding. Can I suggest, if you do ever get a house or a business over here in Thailand, very important, the first question you must ask is, does this land flood? And possibly go during the rainy season and see what happens after a downpour, because flooding is really bad. Right now, here where I'm standing here was ground zero, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when there was a heavy rainstorm. This area here, literally, I would be shoes and socks off, my trousers, pants if you're from America, rolled up to here, because it would be high over my knee, the flood water here. The local council, the local government has done a lot of work to try and put into infrastructure to get that problem resolved. And I have to say, when there's a downpour now, this area gets pretty flooded, but within half an hour it's gone. Interestingly, I didn't ever know why it was so bad here. There's actually 2 canals that meet at this very point, this is like a whole area here, and there's a canal coming from that way, and there's a canal coming from South Pattaya Road. I didn't know until the government, local government here, actually did a lot of work on the infrastructure, and now, whilst the storms are never going to go away, the drainage is better, but it is something that you must consider, especially if you're getting a property that isn't in a high-rise block, either a business or a house. Always ask about the flooding. If you remember, in the first video we talked about crime, and I said that there was a very low crime rate here in Thailand. I've been here, living here for 14 years, never had a major problem with crime in comparison to back home, where I had a lot of problems. And a lot of people says, au contraire, actually crime is a serious issue out here in Pattaya. There have been a lot of problems in the dark side, the Machapran Lake area, where there's been lots of burglaries of properties around that area. And also, of course, always stories in the media about people getting robbed of their jewellery on Beach Road late at night. A lot of those things, I don't want to minimise them or trivialise them, but it's people that are very drunk, that are displaying opulence with their gold jewellery. Be very careful where you're over here late at night, especially if you're in like a Thai area or a badly lit area or somewhere that you're not familiar with. Put any jewellery of yourself or maybe your partner away, hide it away, any watches or phones. It can be a problem. And again, I stress, 14 years never had a problem, but it can be. You do hear of pickpockets on BART buses as well, so be careful. And if you do commit a crime and it goes to court and you're convicted, unlike in the West where you might get a tag or you might get remand, here in Thailand you will go to jail. There is a very high prison population here in Thailand. Yes, a lot of those people are there because of drugs offences, but it is a serious situation. And if you do become somebody who commits crime and ends up in a van like this and going to jail, it's not going to be good, because you only have to read books about the Bangkok Hilton, to realise that it's very, very serious here in Thailand if you have to go to jail. It's not nice, and you could be there for a long time. So, crime doesn't happen that often, but if you do commit crime, there are serious consequences. I did mention in the first video that accommodation here can be very cheap, and you can stay in a hotel for 10,000 baht a night. You can rent a villa, a luxury villa, for like 40,000-50,000 baht a month, or you can go completely the other way. There's always a cheaper alternative for accommodation here in Thailand, and there are loads and loads of big blocks of flats, as we call them in the UK, condo buildings going around all over the place. But there are dangers, especially about renting condos. Be very careful if you sign a contract, especially when it comes to the deposit. There are so many horror stories that I've heard of people that have come here and they've given 1 or 2 months rent as a deposit, which is then supposed to be returned to the person renting the accommodation after the contract ends, 6 months, 1 year, whatever. But the landlords are very persistent, they're very pernickety, and they don't return that deposit. A lot of the times, breaking news, they've actually spent a deposit and they haven't got the money themselves. So they'll come up with any excuse not to give you a deposit. Be very careful when you are renting accommodation, and make sure that you know exactly what is expected of you to have that accommodation deposit returned. Also, of course, think about security. We talked earlier in the video about security, crime, whatever. It is a lot better and a safer feeling to have accommodation in a place like this that has got security on the door. You can't enter without a key card or a pass. And if you have a little friend, maybe stay over for the evening, she has to give her ID on the door. There's CCTV everywhere. There's a feeling of security in a place like this that you don't get in a house, because sometimes things can go wrong when there's people coming in and out of your property all the time. Just to prove the point that I do actually listen and read your feedback, on the first video somebody made mention of the fact that soy dogs was a big problem in living here in Thailand, and especially here in Pattaya, and my little friend over here seems to be wilting in the sun. But hey, he has got a point, he or her who made the point. Soy dogs are a huge problem. I did get bitten once in the UK, I do remember, but I've been bitten twice in the first 10 years I was here, and strangely enough, I got bitten by a dog only about a week ago when I was driving home after a busy night at my bar Milk and the pub, and just out of nowhere this dog came, took a big chunk out of my shoe. It didn't actually, I'm going to show you this. You can just see a tooth mark. There's actually 2 teeth mark there. A dog took a big chunk out of my feet. I wasn't injured, it didn't break the skin, so I didn't have to have an injection. But if you do, not only is it painful, it can also be quite painful on the wallet, because you have to have a tetanus injection and then 3, or I can't remember, maybe 4 rabies injections. The price can add up. So it's not only hurts you, but it's extremely inconvenient. So soy dogs do seem to be everywhere here in Pattaya. I was recently in Isan, the northeast of Thailand, rural Thailand, and there were street dogs absolutely everywhere. I had quite a heavy meal, and I thought, oh, I'll just walk this meal off. Went for a little stroll around the village. Oh my Buddha, the dogs just went completely wild. You can't walk anywhere without the dogs getting excitable, especially at night time. They seem to be quite chilled out during the day. Cue this dog attacking me. But at night time is when they get a little bit vicious. So, soy dogs, thank you whoever pointed that out in the chat. Very, very good point. Be careful of them, and when you're choosing somewhere to live, have a look round, especially at night time, to see if soy dogs might be a problem. One of the most talked about points that I made in the first video was my last point, which was about Thai girls, Thai women, about them being a huge positive for coming over here. A lot of people, rather predictably, were saying, no, Thai girls are only after your money, they empty your bank accounts, there's so much heartbreak in a relationship with Thai women. Let me say this, you only usually hear about the negatives about Thai women. There are so many people that I know that have had very successful relationships with Thai girls, but you never hear about them because nobody wants to hear about positives. But it has to be said, there are an awful lot of negatives about relationships you have with girls over here. There are people that talk about the Pattaya Flying Club, and I have to say, personally, I think matters about suicide and mental health issues are quite serious, but it is a point that needs to be made. You might have all the money in the world and be prepared to come and live here, but inside here, mentally, are you ready to be dating again, to be meeting girls, to be having relationships, especially with girls that maybe don't speak your language and are of different cultures? So there is that side of things to think about when it comes to dating. Yes, there are huge positives, there are girls everywhere, they do seem to be quite attracted to older guys like myself, and it doesn't matter if you're a little bit pompooey, a little bit fat, they're quite interested in guys like us. We are a little bit exotic in their minds, but there are huge red flags as well. I'm not here to give you any kind of dating advice, let's be honest, but it has to be said, go carefully and be prepared to have a few bumps along the road if you're looking to form a relationship with a Thai lady. What are you thinking? I want to know what plans you have for possibly retiring here, or do you not agree with some of the points that I've made in this video? As always, let me know in the comments down below and I will always respond. Right now, I think it's time to get a bus, and what better than, yeah, it's Albino, the Albino bus, Le Pub. And who's this geezer here, hey? I'll see you soon. Happy New Year, everybody. For me, Mr. Egg, see you at Le Pub and Milk. Bye.